The word franchise means in French to free from servitude. While this definition might not apply to retail franchising today, it certainly rang true for Martha Matilda Harper, the founder of franchising. Retail franchising is a business model in which an entrepreneur buys the right to use the name and sell the products of an existing company.
So if we run out of a store, we can't go to a local store and buy a store. Okay, we have to call another dealer and ask if we could borrow.
Because of franchising's convenience, franchising makes up 10.5% of all American businesses. But this all-consuming business model wasn't invented in an economics professor's classroom or in a CEO board meeting. It was invented by a servant girl who had $360 in savings. This is the story of Martha Matilda Harper and how she created a turning point in business history. Martha Matilda Harper was born on September 10, 1857 in Oakville, Canada, to a lower-class family. Her father, Robert Harper, sold her into indentured servitude at age 7. As a young woman, Martha worked as a servant for a local physician. There she learned the value of good hair care based on a regimen of hair washing and scalp massaging. He also taught her the physiology of the hair and gave her a revolutionary shampoo recipe that would become the cornerstone of her business empire. Martha was plotting her departure from servitude. In 1882, at age 25, she moved to Rochester, New York, an immigrant destination and a hotbed of new ideas and business innovation.
When Martha Matilda Harper first came to Rochester, it was a growing city, and during the time that she was here, it grew even bigger. It was a technological city.
Not only was Rochester the home of Western Union, Kodak, and Xerox, but it was the host of many New York suffragettes and the fledgling religion, Christian Science. Martha continued to work as a servant for 6 years, experimenting with her scientifically based hair tonic and saving her money to break out into Rochester's business scene. In 1888, Martha's plans were interrupted by her collapse from exhaustion. Martha was deathly sick and turned to Christian Science for help. Christian Science's manifesto put trust in God for healing rather than earthly medications. Together with a local Christian Science practitioner, Helen Smith, Martha prayed for her delivery from sickness and was soon cured. Because of her quick recovery, Martha became a full-time member of the Christian Science Church. Perhaps inspiring to Martha was that Christian Science was founded by another strong woman like herself, Mary Baker Eddy. Eddy set up her church with a revolutionary model. Satellite churches were subservient to the mother church, which determined identical practices for all the satellite churches to follow. This franchise-like system had a big effect on Martha as she put it to use in her business. With the encouragement of the couple she worked for in Rochester, Mr. and Mrs. Roberts, Martha began to sell her hair tonic. She was ready to open up one of America's first hair salons. She had her eyes set on the Powers Building, a prestigious retail center in downtown Rochester run by the conservative Daniel Powers. Powers was against having Martha's hair salon in his building because the conventional wisdom of the time said that shops that provided hygiene services would attract dodgier customers, like prostitutes. However, Martha believed that health was essential to beauty and did not support the use of cosmetics, setting her salon apart from establishments that Powers did not approve of. After tough negotiations, Martha was finally allowed to open her salon, the Harper Hairdressing Parlor. She invested her life savings, $360, in the risky business venture. As an advertisement, she put a picture of her beautiful floor-length hair on the door to her salon. Prospective upper-class customers, while walking the halls of the Powers Building, would be lured by the image of Martha's amazing hair. Martha had broken onto Rochester's business scene. Martha's success was due in part to her focus on customer satisfaction. It was Martha who invented the reclining shampoo chair, a mainstay of all salons today. Also, she trained her employees herself, which she called her Harperites. She only hired former servant girls like herself because she wanted to lift them from poverty and make them economically independent.
Unlike today, really women couldn't go in a lot of areas, or they just weren't in a lot of areas.
Soon, upper-class women and suffragettes from out of town wanted Martha to open up Harper hairdressing parlors in their cities. She sent her first assistant, Bertha Farquhar, to open up a salon in Chicago for the World's Fair in 1893. While Martha had control over where the store was located and what Harper products were sold there, The store was owned by Farquhar. Martha's use of retail franchising to spread her services to Chicago was a turning point in business history. Today, franchising is the premier business expansion method. The Harper method was spreading rapidly. Both men and women flocked to the stores because of the quality of the rejuvenating services, and the Harperites were benefiting from the success too. The shop owners, all former servant girls, were earning much more money than they ever did as servants. Women from all over wanted to become Harperites.
There were increasing opportunities at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century for women in business.
By the 1920s, business was booming. The Harper method had 500 stores worldwide, with 350 alone in America. Martha could count among her clientele Alexander Graham Bell, his wife Mabel, President Woodrow Wilson, and President Calvin and Grace Coolidge. In fact, President Wilson visited the Paris Harper method shop during the negotiating of the Treaty of Versailles. However, the beauty industry looked radically different in the 1920s than it had when Martha broke into it in the late 19th century. With the success of Helena Rubinstein's and Elizabeth Arden's cosmetics, the puritanical views of the Victorian age were replaced with modern acceptance of artificial beauty. However, Martha stuck to her belief that health was fundamental to beauty. The second chapter of the Harper Method textbook, a required text for all students at the Harper Method Beauty School, says,
Harper operators know, of course, that all Harper Method work is based on fundamental principles. One of the chief of these is health. It has been demonstrated over and over again that health and beauty go hand in hand.
Although Martha's business model is the most similar to franchising we see today, two 19th century businessmen, Cyrus McCormick and Isaac Singer, are credited with inventing franchising. But McCormick retailers not only were allowed to sell McCormick harvesting reapers, but they could also sell products unrelated to the McCormick Company. This logic applies to the Singer Company as well.
What was distinctive of what Harper launched, and then the rest of the world has followed, is the exclusivity.
With the coming of the Great Depression and World War II, the franchise boom stalled until the 1950s. Then, with the help of President Eisenhower's Interstate Highway Act, the franchises we know today came into fruition. The first was Howard Johnson's, which began as a concession stand in 1935 and blossomed into a roadside restaurant and hotel business in the 1950s. Soon came Dunkin' Donuts in 1950, and then McDonald's, incorporated by the business prodigy Ray Kroc. Another legacy of Martha is the creation of social entrepreneurship. One of the reasons why Martha created franchising is because she wanted to share her business's profits with her franchise owners. She believed that women should be economically independent. This is how she used her business to create social change.
I'm not exactly sure, but most independent businesses that start up, they probably have somewhere around, I think, about a 90-something% failure. Franchises, on the other hand, failures are very low. Okay, so their success rate is somewhere around 80%, where when you purchase a franchise, the probability of success is greater there.
Martha's impact on the business world is innumerable. 120 years after Martha first franchised her hair salon, 453,000 businesses in America are franchises, according to the 2007 economic census. From $360, she created a $1.3 trillion industry. But her impact is felt in more than just numbers. Martha created a business format rooted in social justice and women's rights.
Having this idea that that women whose only choice seems to be domestic service, which is absolutely the job that nobody wanted. If you could choose not to be a servant in somebody else's house, where you had really no autonomy and no recourse, trying to find a way to give women who didn't seem to have a choice beyond that some kind of choice is truly brilliant.
Martha not only lifted herself and many others from near poverty, but she single-handedly created a business model that we benefit from today. Her achievement is remarkable.